Hello, Q&O for Christians here. We are going to look at a few good ones today. And they're ones that we hear a lot. In fact, if you're a Christian, you don't get tired of hearing them because they're very simple to answer. But at the same time, so many people hear say these objections and questions that it's so important I address them. I wouldn't be doing my job if I did not. With that said, the first one is an objection. And it's a classic one, and there are laws and bills in the United Nations trying to pass so that we can't say this. It's intolerant to say that Jesus is the only way to God. Well, Jesus is the one who said he was the only way to the Father. For Christians to say that there are other ways to find peace with God is to bear false testimony. In one sweeping statement, Jesus discards all other religions as a means to finding forgiveness of sins. This agrees with other scriptures as well. Neither is there salvation, and this is the verse, neither is there salvation in any other. For there is no other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Now there's a reason for that. And that's found in Acts chapter 4, verse 12. And now here's another verse. For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus. Christ means Messiah. And that's in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 5. Now, with that said, my personal thoughts on this. My personal thoughts are, there's a reason that, unlike any religion anywhere, and I've studied them, Christianity is one unique thing, and it's the thought of grace. Every other religion, and most other belief systems, even ones that people who aren't religious have kind of created for themselves, there's one working thing: earning salvation. Or having a system or something that you get to God with. Christianity is God coming to you. In fact, any true Christian and person who's had an experience with God actually knows that God has to come to you in order for you to believe. No matter, you can get an intellectual belief about God, you can do 1,000 things, but a relationship with God, He has to kick it off. The best you can do is ask Him to help you start that relationship. I would now refer you to my YouTube video, What Now God Part 1. The reason why is, although it's kind of prickly to read through, it will show you how this works. It's very unique. Christianity is unique in the aspect of grace. With that said, I'm going to go on to our next one, which is a question, and I've lost my space, but that's okay because I know where it is. Here it is. It's a question, and this is a good one. Is it possible that Jesus simply fainted on the cross and revived while he was in the tomb? This is a perfectly sane question. I think if you're any thinking person, this question would come into your mind. And there is actually an answer to it. Jesus had been whipped and beaten. He was bleeding from his head, back, hands, and feet for at least 6 hours while he was on the cross. A soldier pierced his side with a spear, and blood and water gushed out. Professional soldiers would certainly have... Now, by the way, these are the Romans. They're even more serious than the U.S. Marines. Professional soldiers would certainly have completed their assigned task and ensured his death. It is impossible that a being who had stolen half dead out of the suit. This is a saying by Frank Morrison. I'm sorry. It is impossible that a being who has stolen half dead out of the sepulchre, who crept about weak and ill, wanting medical treatment. I'm gonna rephrase this. Who required bandaging, strengthening, and indulgence. Who still at last yielded to his sufferings, could have given the disciples the impression that he was a conqueror over death and the grave, the Prince of Life, an impression which lay at the bottom of their future ministry, such as resuscitation, could only have weakened the impression which he had made upon them in life and in death. At the most, could only have given it, and he's using big words, elegiac voice, but could by no possibly have changed their sorrow into enthusiasm, have elevated the reverence into worship. Alright, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to totally reread that, because that was written a long time ago. Basically, in a nutshell, Jesus reviving was, you have a man who's literally had, nails around yay big, you see my head, rammed through his wrists, right around here where all your knuckles are. You've had pierced side, crown of thorns, his crown so sharp it'd scalp you. And then he had a nail put through both his feet, so you wouldn't be walking. So even if he had revived, he wouldn't. 40 lashes, he would have been down to the bone. It had been gushing, their spears were like yay big. They were long spears. And then once again, that's my head. He's not getting up and going anywhere. Basically what he's saying is, even if he did revive, and the disciples did find him later, here he is, he's dragged him through all his persecution. And now, he finds, this would be pathetic. They'd be nursing him back to life. And they certainly wouldn't be dying for this guy who basically they felt at this point had basically possibly lied to them. They were freaked out. And on top of the fact, he brings in, they definitely could have motivated these guys, if I had someone lie to me as a teacher and come up to me, I wouldn't be in reverence and worship of him. So if I saw him with nails and just on that state, I think greatest physicians today would have a tough time bringing him back. So I do not believe at all it was capable he revived. Not counting the Roman guard outside his tomb door, which would have easily killed him. Not counting the Pharisees would have gotten a hold of his body and just, hey cat, would have gotten a hold of his body and so on and so forth. So with that, today I went on a little longer than I thought I was going to. God bless you all so much. And we're going to keep chugging along with these. Hopefully you're learning something and you're enjoying it. Because I actually am, even if no one's watching. But I do have people watching, so thank you. Take care. God bless.